The hum of the TARDIS is the first thing you feel low, thrumming, like a cat purring somewhere behind your eyes. You're standing beside the doctor, both of you slightly off balance as the console room rocks gently from side to side. Outside, the dimension you've just entered is unreadable, a soup of sound and light that flickers violet one moment and yawns into silvery gray the next. You glance at the doctor. He's fiddling with a lever that probably shouldn't be moved. His coat flaps a little, although there's no breeze. His expression is halfway between glee and concern. Where are we? You ask, trying to peek at the monitor. It shows only a melting pocket watch chasing its own tail. Well, the doctor says, squinting, it seems we've landed in dimension Z. Minor rift in the time fabric. Not usually on my itinerary. Drowsy. Dreamy place. Nothing too serious, but fascinating. And a bit sideways, if I'm honest. You raise an eyebrow. Drowsy. That doesn't sound ominous at all. That's the spirit. He beams, pulling a lever marked recline. The floor tilts ever so slightly. The locals are harmless, mostly abstract, sometimes literal, sometimes both. Expect slow conversations, forgotten sentences, and possibly talking furniture. Also, gravity might sigh. The TARDIS shudders gently. With a soft humph, it lands. Outside the doors, a dull golden mist creeps lazily past the windows, thick and warm like steeped chamomile. You hesitate. Should we? Yes, he interrupts cheerfully, bounding down the ramp. Adventure begins at the threshold of the unexpected. You follow, pushing open the door with both hands. It resists slightly, like a sleepy cat refusing to move. And then you step into the strangest afternoon you've ever seen. The sky is the color of old velvet, and the sun hangs like an absent-minded lemon, dim and off-center. Around you, a field of half-bloomed ideas, flowers that mutter poetry in their sleep, and bushes that apologize when you brush past them. The air smells faintly of toast and forgotten dreams. The ground is soft, but it doesn't squish, it murmurs. I think the earth just told me to take a nap, you say, glancing down. Polite of it, says the doctor, tapping his sonic screwdriver against a floating feather that refuses to land. This dimension is caught in perpetual, near slumber. It was designed by accident during a cosmic paperwork error. No war, no politics, just a gentle limbo of drowsy nonsense. Sort of like the universe pressed snooze and never got our puzzle. Off in the distance, a path winds lazily through a glimmering field. It's made of pillows, actual pillows. Some of them snore. The doctor marches ahead, feet sinking slightly with each step. You trail behind, your boots gathering fine traces of glitter and yawn dust. You pass a sign. It reads, "Welcome to Fluffshire. Elevation Z." Below that, another plaque. "Please speak softly. Ideas are sleeping." A small blue lamppost beside the sign flickers as if dreaming of being brighter. "Is it always like this here?" you whisper. "Sort of," says the doctor, examining a map that's actively erasing itself as he reads. Time flows like honey left on a windowsill. Not quite still. Not quite moving. The inhabitants tend to be conceptual embodiments of moods, stray thoughts, things that nearly existed but didn't quite make it into your universe. A breeze stirs. You feel a tickle behind your ear. A voice whispers, "Nap." You spin around. Nothing. Only a cluster of clouds drifting upside down at ankle level. One of them sneezes softly and floats away. Further on, you reach a curious structure. It looks like a cottage, but the roof is reading a book. The door yawns open. Inside, a figure sits slumped in an armchair, snoring gently. Its body is made of crumpled sketches, half doodles, and half-spoken sentences. A teacup floats mid-air beside it, slowly rotating. "Don't wake her," murmurs the doctor. That's Lady Lucidia, the guardian of lost beginnings. She's been dreaming chapter ones since time forgot to continue. The doctor tiptoes around the room, examining a globe that spins backward and hums lullabies. You notice a cabinet labeled Unfinished Thoughts that opens and closes of its own accord, like it's sighing. You whisper, "Should we be here?" No better place to start a story than in the middle of a half-finished one. The doctor winks. Now let's find a guide. A clock above the mantel flutters its hands like wings, then flops down flat. Time, it seems, is taking a short rest. Outside again, the mist begins to part, revealing a slow-moving river with no current. Boats drift along it, not because of motion, but sheer collective will to eventually be somewhere else. On the riverbank, a hat waves to you. No head, just the hat. The doctor tips his own in return. "That's a good omen," he murmurs. Hats that greet you tend to mean welcome. The sun tilts slightly, settling deeper into its lazy arc. The whole world seems to exhale. You yawn, and it echoes. Where to next, you ask sleepily, rubbing your eyes. Well, the doctor says, grinning, the bureaucracy of dreams is just beyond that hill made of mattress springs. We'll need clearance to walk through the hall of forgotten names. And I hear the staircase district is having an existential debate again. You blink at him. I have no idea what any of that means. Perfect. He beams. That means you're ready. The doctor snaps his fingers. The TARDIS vanishes with a whisper, deciding it prefers a nap to waiting. You look around. The path ahead ripples like a quilt freshly turned over. You take the first step, Pitchi. The pillows purr. You follow the doctor up a winding slope made entirely of mattress buttons and velvety ruffles. Each step gives a soft pumph, and occasionally the hill yawns beneath your feet, as if it's also considering a nap. The mist thins as you reach the summit, revealing what appears to be a sprawling lounge or perhaps a city built to resemble one. There are walls made of tufted cushions, roofs draped in sleepy quilt tiles, and roads paved in overlapping shag carpets. In the very center stands a building shaped like an armchair, complete with doorknobs that look suspiciously like elbow rests. The doctor beams. Ah, the parlor district. Sentient furniture capital of this quadrant. You blink. Capital of furniture. Oh yes. Some of the wisest minds in this dimension are Ottomans. As you approach, a doormat lifts one corner slightly, squinting at your shoes. Well, it says in a faintly haughty accent, those souls have seen better days. You take a step back, unsure whether to apologize or defend your walking habits. Don't worry, the doctor says breezily, already kneeling to whisper something diplomatic into the bristles of a nearby welcome mat. They're very judgmental, but only because their lives revolve around foot traffic and crumbs. The door to the chair-shaped building creaks open and sighs. Inside, you're enveloped by a warm hush and the unmistakable scent of old upholstery. Every piece of furniture is alive. A wingback chair near the fireplace shifts its cushions slightly as you walk by, muttering, "Not another biped with crumbs in their pockets." A cabinet in the corner flings open its drawers and dramatically groans. Someone rearranged my teaspoons alphabetically again, and now I feel violated. Hi, you offer, unsure who exactly you're greeting. Everything responds with mild suspicion. The doctor strides to the center of the room and claps his hands. We're looking for the Bureau of Nap Visas. We've got a traveler here. He gestures to you with a flourish, and she'll need clearance to pass through the field of reversible thought spoil. An Ottoman scoots forward with a dusty thump. It clears its throat. Forms must be submitted in quadruplicate and folded into paper cranes. Do you have a pen that sings lullabies? You glance at the doctor. Do we? He rummages through his coat pockets, producing, among other things, a music box, a ball of string that hums, and finally, a pen with googly eyes and a gentle hum. Perfect, says the Ottoman, who stamps a pillow with its base and emits a small cloud of chamomile. As the doctor fills in the forms, humming along with the pen, you're left to explore. You wander down a side hall lined with rugs, each one different, and each, somehow, watching you. One rug, deep burgundy with golden edges, wrinkles itself into a disapproving frown. You're not walking properly. It scolds. Your heel-toe ratio is all wrong. A striped rug next to it chimes in. She slouches slightly to the left. It throws off the entire hallway rhythm. You straighten your spine and try again. Better, the striped one says. But we expected more from a dimensional guest. You flee into a nearby nook, heart pounding slightly. Inside the cozy alcove is a small love seat with floral upholstery. It sees your flustered face and pats its seat cushion gently. Don't mind the rugs, it says kindly. They've never been stepped on by royalty, and they're bitter about it. You sit. The cushion sighs beneath you, in a good way. That's better. It murmurs. You've had a long day. You nod. It's only just started, Bwachtada. The love seat hums in sympathy. All good journeys begin with mild disapproval. It builds character. A cuckoo clock in the shape of a teapot chimes softly above you. Instead of birds, a single yawn floats out, hangs in the air for a second, then vanishes like a puff of steam. The doctor returns, paper cranes fluttering in his arms. Clearance acquired, he announces, we are officially permitted to traverse the nap fields. Just need to avoid the daydream toll collectors. Adds a footstool nearby, eyeing your scarf like it might try to levy a tax. You rise, giving the love seat an appreciative pat. Thank you, you whisper. Anytime, dear, it replies, already half asleep. Back outside, the rugs are still grumbling. One tries to trip the doctor but misses, grumbling show off under its tassels. You both walk away toward a shimmering passage of gauze curtains that lead into the next region of the dimension. Above the archway, a sign stitched in golden thread reads, beyond here lie reversible thoughts and possibly upside-down clouds. The doctor stops. Before we go further, he says, turning to you, there's one rule. You lean in this dimension. Don't try to finish your sentences. Why not? Because they'll finish themselves. You frown, but before you can respond, a gust of warm wind swirls through and says on your behalf, because endings are sleepy things, best left for later. You and the doctor exchange a glance. And with that, you step through the gauze curtains into a world where thoughts loop backward and daydreams negotiate treaties with the sky. The curtains whisper as you pass through them, brushing your skin like silks made solid. One murmurs a half-finished limerick. Another trails behind you, reluctant to let go. And then, sunlight. Soft, spongy, and slightly toasted around the edges. You blink. You're standing at the edge of a vast orchard of enormous, upside-down flowers. Their blooms dangle from vines that float lazily in midair, bobbing like jellyfish in syrup. Below them are fields of translucent hives, each shaped like a musical note, pulsing slowly in time with some unseen lullaby. Bees float backward, literally. They fly stinger first, wings fluttering in slow reverse, their buzzing a faint and dreamy zizz that seems to echo before they arrive. Behold, says the doctor, spreading his arms, the apiary of retrograde breakfasts. You stare. Did you just say breakfast? Oh, yes, he replies, rubbing his hands together. These bees collect not nectar, but memory honey. They store emotional flavor. That one, he points at a fuzzy golden blur coasting backward into a dandelion, specializes in the taste of naps taken in sunbeams. Delightful on toast. You take a step forward, and the ground beneath your feet squeaks gently, like sleepy cork. One of the bees zips well, unzips, past your head, trailing a shimmering wake of light and the scent of cinnamon. A gentle chime rings nearby. You look up to see a floating table drift down on bubble legs. Upon it, warm teacups, steaming slices of cloud toast, and a crystal jar labeled Tuesday morning, early April, with blanket. The doctor pours a spoonful of the honey into his tea. This batch always tastes like the moment before you fully wake up, when the world is still soft. You try a bit. He's right. It tastes like your grandmother's living room. A creaky floorboard, your own breath under a blanket. It tastes like nothing happening and it being enough. You exhale slowly. This might be the best thing I've never eaten. Huh. The doctor nods, swirling his spoon thoughtfully. Each bee encodes memory fragments from the sleeper minds of this dimension. They've been refining breakfast nostalgia for millennia. The meals you wish you'd had, and all the mornings you wanted to stay in bed forever. A particularly plump bee approaches you in reverse, then halts mid-air. Its tiny antennae twitch politely. Buzzes, it says. You glance at the doctor. She's asking. He explains. If you'd like to trade a dream for a flavor, you consider a dream. Nothing big, the bee assures you in a wobbly, musical hum. Just a spare one. Maybe an old one. Something you outgrew. You think for a moment, then nod. The bee gently boops your forehead with the tip of its abdomen. There's a faint tingle behind your eyes, like when you forget what you were about to say. But it doesn't bother you. The bee zips backward again, glowing slightly now. Moments later, another crystal jar floats toward you. This one reads, Day you almost became a magician. Day 9. You twist the lid and inhale. It smells like cold coins, a vanished rabbit, and the electricity of being believed in. You sit beside the floating table, nibbling cloud toast with honey from forgotten birthdays. The doctor is telling a story to 3 bees who have formed a little semicircle in the air. And then I said, That's not a neutron spanner. It's your grandmother's knitting needle. He finishes with a flourish. The bees buzz appreciatively. One claps with its back legs. You sip your tea slowly, watching the reversed world unfold around you. A flower unblooms above your head, petals folding in like a sigh. Somewhere in the distance, A hive sings a lullaby backward. A small shadow lands next to you. You turn and find a bee handing, or rather, backhanding you a folded note. You unfold it. The paper smells like pencil shavings and bedtime stories. It reads, Field Patrol Report 1. Nap thief spotted near the orchard edge. Caution advised. Known to impersonate thoughts. You frown. Doctor, what's a nap thief? He looks up, his brow furrowing ever so slightly. A mischief maker, parasitic entity, feeds on the beginnings of rest just before your mind settles, nibbles at peace, often harmless, sometimes too clever. You look toward the edge of the orchard. The air flickers, just briefly. The doctor stands. We may want to check that out before it gets comfortable. You both walk slowly toward the orchard's edge. The bees part around you like slow bubbles. The edge of the field is quiet. No mist, no flowers, just a subtle blankness. As if something has erased the texture of the world here. Then you see it. A shadow, shaped like a coat you almost bought once. It glides across the ground, slow and deliberate. It doesn't speak, but the silence thickens. Your thoughts feel unfinished. The doctor steps in front of you. Stay behind. It may try to offer you a nap that doesn't end. The shadow tilts slightly, curious. You stare at it. And then, calmly, you speak. I've had better dreams with bees. For a moment, nothing. Then the shadow twitches like a forgotten idea trying to remember itself, and with a soft, disappointed rustle, it dissolves into the grass. The orchard exhales. A breeze returns, full of yawn sugar and pollen lullabies. The doctor turns to you, smiling. You handled that rather well. You shrug. I've had tea with furniture. This felt normal. He laughs. Come on then. Next stop, The Bureaucracy of Dreams. We'll need to file a report, or the bees get fined for emotional leakage. You groan. Forms again. Forms, he confirms cheerfully, leading you back to the floating table. But don't worry, they're printed on napkins this time. The road beyond the orchard is paved with sleepwalkers' footprints, faint, shifting outlines that rise and fall as you step over them. They don't lead in straight lines. Some wander in circles. Some pause, mid-thought. A few spiral upward into the mist like stairs that forgot their purpose. The doctor walks ahead, whistling softly, hands in his coat pockets. We're close, he says. I can hear the paper sighing. You round a bend and see it, the Bureaucracy of Dreams. At first glance, it looks like a quiet old post office. Columns of cloud-colored marble. Doors with golden doorknobs shaped like yawn bubbles. But when you squint, the building lengthens and shortens. Windows shifting softly like sleep twitches. It seems to inhale the sky. A plaque by the gate reads, Bureaucracy of Dreams, Department of Naps, Whisper Division, Subsection L, Liminal Licensing. Underneath, in smaller print, please fill out Form Z22B with optional doodles. The gate swings open without a sound. You step through with the doctor at your side. Inside, the lobby is bathed in a low golden glow. Ceiling fans spin slowly, powered by boredom. Stacks of dream reports pile high like clouds preparing to rain stories. Folders flutter between desks on tiny parachutes. A receptionist with the face of a tired moon greets you with a small nod. She doesn't speak, but hands you a clipboard made of pressed sighs. The doctor reads it over your shoulder. Reason for visit. Let's just say, encountered a nap thief during memory honey ingestion. You write slowly, the pen whispering as it moves. You're not sure if you're writing words or just intentions. Another question, mood upon arrival. You write sleepy curious, slightly puzzled, but tea content. The receptionist stamps your form with a noise like a cat settling into a pillow. A door opens behind the desk. Through there, says a voice, though no one moves their lips. You and the doctor pass into a corridor lined with filing cabinets, so tall they vanish into fog. Some are labeled unspoken apologies, others imaginary jobs, and one drawer simply reads, etc. Where are we going? Exactly, you ask. To file your dream encounter, the doctor replies, it's the polite thing. This dimension thrives on mutual respect between dreams and visitors. The hallway opens into a vast room shaped like a spiral. Desks float in midair, tethered to nothing. Some are occupied by creatures, a librarian made of typewriter keys, a unicorn in a necktie filling out triplicate forms with its horn, and a pair of sentient glasses arguing with themselves over footnotes thou. A pale figure in a suit that shifts from pinstripe to paisley waves you over. Name they ask, holding a form shaped like a napkin. Their voice sounds like someone turning a page. Just her will do, says the doctor, gesturing to you. Dream class light encounter, emotional grade, gentle alarm, threat level 2, yawns and a raised eyebrow. The figure nods solemnly and stamps something invisible. Here for a resonance check, they say. Follow me. You trail them into a small room with walls made entirely of bed sheets, pinned like curtains in a breeze. A single mirror floats in the center. Look in, says the figure. We'll check for lingering impressions. You lean forward. In the reflection, you don't see yourself exactly. You see your shape stitched out of memories. There's the childhood magician's cape. There's a library card you never used. There's a dream you once forgot about, now waving at you shyly. You smile. The mirror exhales and vanishes. Clear, the figure says. They hand you a small pillow embroidered with your name. It's soft and a little warm. What's this for you? Ask. Receipt, they reply. All dream interactions require one. If questioned by pillow inspectors, simply present it. Right. You nod. Of course. As you leave the room, a bell chimes twice. A filing cabinet near the door opens and gently swallows your paperwork. Back in the lobby, the doctor is chatting with a desk plant that seems to be offering him a bookmark in exchange for a memory of socks. Good timing, he says as you return. They've approved our transit through the thought fields. Just need to stop at the licensing nook for a D77 whim permit. A what? For walking through unfinished ideas. Without a permit, the thoughts might get clingy. He leads you down a short hallway where tiny doors line the walls like advent calendar windows. A plaque reads, "Licensing nook, press bell gently and wait with patience." You press. The bell lets out a soft hmm. Then a door opens and a tiny creature floats out. It's a floating envelope with glasses. Purpose of whim, it asks. Pen at the ready. Tiens. Exploratory, says the doctor. Curiosity led. Companion is newly dream dipped. Mild bee involvement. The envelope nods. It scribbles something in midair, tears off an invisible slip, and hands it to you. Validity until first doubt, it says, and floats back into its nook. You turn the slip over. It shimmers, then folds itself into a paper bird and tucks into your pocket. Outside again, the sky has deepened into something between periwinkle and possibility. The breeze has grown slower. You feel lighter, like a thought being imagined. The doctor stretches. Well done. Not everyone handles dream bureaucracy so gracefully. I once lost 3 hours in the department of misplaced umbrellas. You glance back at the bureau. The building nods at you, slowly, like a wise grandparent who only appears in naps. Where to next, you ask? The thought fields, says the doctor. A place where ideas drift freely and may ask you to name them. Just keep your answers vague. You raise an eyebrow. Why? Because specifics lead to plot, he says ominously. And with that, you both begin the walk past the paperwork, past the pillow roads, into a landscape where half-formed questions float like butterflies, and nothing is quite ready to make sense. The terrain changes gradually, like the mood of the daydream. Gone are the sleepy grasses and drifting pollen of the orchard. Gone, too, is the warm amber light of the bureau. Instead, the world stretches out in cool twilight tones, soft blues, muted lavenders, the color of twilight on forgotten Wednesdays. Thought balloons drift lazily through the air, each whispering fragments of questions. What if fish had libraries? Do clouds remember us? How many socks become planets? You don't try to answer them. The doctor warned you be vague. You nod politely at a passing sentence fragment that says, "When I was half a telescope," before fading into a puff of punctuation. Then the landscape sharpens. You reach a clearing where the ground rises abruptly, and it's there that you see them. The staircases, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, some wide and made of marble, others narrow and carved from whispers. A few spiral elegantly into themselves. Others zigzag like they're unsure of their own destination. And all of them talking loudly. Clearly, I'm the most efficient route, announces a tall obsidian staircase. Linear, sensible, minimal existential crisis. A winding brass stair retorts, efficiency is the death of wonder. My curves inspire at least 12 emotions, some of which are indigestion, mutters a creaky wooden stair that smells faintly of mothballs and memory. You glance at the doctor. Tea. Oh, yes, he says, rubbing his hands together. The argument court of the ascending constructs. Legendary. You raise an eyebrow. And necessary. Well, the only way through the thought fields is up, he explains. And all the exits are at the top. But these staircases can't agree who deserves to be climbed. You sigh. Of course. You approach the central plaza, where a collection of stairs are mid-debate with dramatic flair. Step on me, says a velvet staircase dreamily. Every step a lullaby. Oh, please, scoffs a sharp granite flight. she'll slip halfway up your third stanza. The staircase is quiet as you step closer. One of them, shaped like folded origami paper, leans toward you and says, "Choose wisely. Some of us go nowhere." "I went somewhere once," murmurs a dusty old ladder nearby, "but forgot where by the time I arrived." You hesitate. "Do I have to choose?" you whisper to the doctor. "Yeah, technically, no," he replies, pulling out a small piece of string and a biscuit. But indecision makes them louder. He takes a bite. Crumbs drift upward. You decide to speak. "I'm not here to choose the best staircase," you say softly. "I just want to get where I'm going peacefully." A hush falls. Even the brass one quiets its curve. Then, from the back of the clearing, a small, quiet staircase made of worn poetry clears its throat. "If she seeks peace, let her climb me." Her, the dream licensed one, gasps a porcelain stare in disbelief. She carries a whimslip. The poetic stare continues. And the scent of bee-laced tea. She has walked among whisper forms. You blush a little at the attention. You hadn't realized word travels this fast in dreaming dimensions. The other staircases grumble but step aside. You approach the poetry stair. Its steps are smooth and sloped like song verses. Each one has a line of faded text etched along its edge. You take the first step. Even silence carries rhythm if you learn to listen. Then the next. Sometimes up is a feeling, not a direction. The staircase doesn't creak. It sighs. As you climb, it begins to hum very softly, like a tune your mother might have hummed before you had words for sleep. The doctor follows behind, whistling the counterpoint. Midway up, the staircase halts. You look down, not back, just downward, and realize the ground is farther away than it should be. The stairs curve gently into cloud. The poetic staircase murmurs, "This is where you must answer." Answer. what you ask. A platform unfurls to the right, made of soft pages. On it rests a question. Literally. It glows softly, curled up like a cat. You kneel beside it. Its letters shift, but eventually they hold still long enough to read. What was the first idea you ever loved? You blink. Your mind goes quiet. Images flicker your childhood. An invisible dragon that only you believed in. A cardboard rocket ship. A picture book about underwater cities. A feeling rises delight without purpose. You whisper. The idea that anything could be alive, even shadows. The question purrs. It stretches, becomes a trail of golden light, and forms a bridge. The staircase resumes its ascent. Good answer, says the doctor, tapping your shoulder. The stairs, like sincerity. Near the top, the clouds clear. You see glimpses of the next place, swirling shapes, floating letters, and a carnival that spins upside down. Almost there, says the staircase. Only one more step. You pause at the final one. It reads, "The end of the climb is not the end of the story." You step forward. The staircase fades beneath you like a dream letting go. You're now standing on a soft landing of stitched constellations. The doctor claps you on the back. Bravo. Not many pass the argument court without being recruited into stair debate arbitration. You exhale slowly. Your legs ache not from climbing, but from holding on to so many half-formed thoughts. Below, the staircases begin bickering again, louder than ever now that the distraction of a traveler is gone. You and the doctor move forward. Ahead lies a forest made of punctuation. Commas dangle like fruit. Exclamation marks point the way. Somewhere deep within, you hear a sentence, "learning to dance." The doctor grins. Ready for tea with a time-looped octopus. You blink. That's next. Oh yes, you'll love her. She only repeats herself when absolutely unnecessary, which is always. You laugh, following him into the forest, punctuation rustling at your sleeves. The forest of punctuation gives way slowly, as if reluctant to let you go. A few commas drift after you like loyal pets. A particularly round period rolls across your foot and settles beside a daisy made of quotation marks. Even the air seems structured here, pausing politely between breezes, as if editing itself. You step into a clearing, ringed by softly blinking clocks embedded in the grass. The doctor claps once, and the air ripples like someone dropping a stone in very polite tea. She's almost here, he says. Wait for the knock-knock. Knock-knock, you ask, puzzled. But before he can answer, tap, 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 tap. You turn, and there she is. Emerging from a pool of glassy water that wasn't there a moment ago is a large lavender octopus wearing a paisley shawl and a monocle. Her movements are elegant and swirling, like choreography wrapped in ribbons. She carries a tray with teacups, each labeled with your name, written in cursive that loops back into itself. Hello, 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 she chirps, each greeting slightly overlapping the one before it. Do come in, sit down, sit down. You've been expected. Not yet, but still. A table appears. Or perhaps it had always been there, waiting for the correct perception. Welcome to the afternoon of tomorrow's yesterday, the octopus says brightly, placing the tray in the exact center of a doily with fractal embroidery. You and the doctor sit. The chairs adjust themselves to your comfort, sighing happily as you settle in. I'm so pleased to see you again for the first time, says the octopus. Or was it the fifth? You look familiar, unless you don't. She adjusts her monocle. It blinks. The doctor leans toward you. This is Madame Palindrome, hostess of temporal teas. She lives in a 5-minute loop, permanently, which means she remembers everything. Eventually, or repeatedly. Milk, she asks. already pouring. You nod. She adds lemon instead. Ah, that's right. You preferred it wrong. She offers you a sugar cube made of condensed déjà vu. It tastes like the feeling of rereading a sentence you swear you never read before. Around the clearing, teapots emerge from crocus blossoms. One hums a lullaby backwards. Another puffs tiny steam rings that spell out polite affirmations. You are welcome. You are curious. You are probably real. Madame Palindrome floats midair, refilling your cup every few moments, even when it's still full. So, she says, adjusting her shawl, the thought fields are restless. A nap thief stirred a bee. Very improper. And you're here for the ending, aren't you? You hesitate. The ending of what? She waves a teacup in a spiraling motion. The sentence, the stroll, the loop, the version of you that stopped dreaming too early. We all circle the same grammar eventually. The doctor sips his tea thoughtfully. She means the exit, the way out. Every dream eventually becomes a decision. Madame Palindrome nods, every other tentacle conducting an invisible symphony. But not yet, not yet. First, parlor games of temporal intent. She claps all 8 arms. A soft bell dings, though you're certain it already did. The table transforms. Cards appear, then melt into shapes. A board game rises like dough, covered in tiles, labeled wonder. Wonder, whim, worry. Choose 3, she instructs. You point wonder, wonder, whim. The octopus nods approvingly. A healthy combo. No worry. Delightful. You've passed the first turn you haven't taken yet. The game folds itself into a scroll and vanishes. Prize time, she declares. A small box floats across the table and lands in front of you. Inside is a yawn, trapped in time, perfectly preserved. A looped breath, she says fondly. to be used only when you forget how to pause. You tuck it into your coat pocket. It feels warm, weightless, and slightly nostalgic. Suddenly, Madame Palindrome's voice becomes softer. Now, she says, a moment of reflection. We must do the looping question. She hands you a mirror. You see yourself, but not just now. You see yourself from this morning, and also from the week you turned 13, and the night you stayed up until 2 a.m. reading under a blanket. See. The question appears on the surface of the glass. If you stepped out of the loop today, would the world be louder or quieter? You don't speak for a while. Then, honestly, quieter, I think, but only for a moment. The mirror sighs, satisfied. Madame Palindrome beams. A thoughtful loop. Beautiful. Bookmark it. You do. The page folds gently into your pocket. The clocks in the grass begin to blink faster. You feel time creaking gently beneath the clearing, like a ship preparing to turn. The doctor stands. We should go. The octopus nods. Of course. Of course. Of course. You've stayed just long enough. As always. As never. She floats closer and reaches out a tentacle. You take it. Remember, she whispers, tea time is every time until it's not. But it probably is. She hands you one last object, a spoon. But this one is engraved with tiny letters. For stirring dreams you haven't had yet, did it? You hold it tightly. As you and the doctor step back through the clearing, the world begins to loop slightly around the edges. Just a bit of shimmer at the corners of the trees. A hiccup in the clouds. But you don't look back. You hear her voice one last time, layered and echoing. Goodbye. Hello. Farewell. Don't be late for never. The punctuation forest rises again to greet you. And beyond it, the town where thoughts echo. The forest of punctuation fades behind you, its semicolons waving gently in farewell. Ahead lies a town that doesn't seem to be built so much as remembered. Rooftops form from the outlines of old questions. Window shutters flutter like forgotten hypotheses. The cobblestones hum with quiet phrases people once muttered to themselves before falling asleep. This is the town where thoughts echo. The doctor says softly beside you, every stray thought that never found a listener lives here. You pass under a delicate arch made from quotation marks and moonlight. As soon as you cross the threshold, you hear it. Your own voice faint, delayed. I wonder if they ever knew. You pause. Did I say that? Probably, the doctor replies. Been years ago. Or just earlier this afternoon. You look around. The buildings lean politely. Doorways whisper. Every wall feels like it's just about to say something. And from somewhere above, a gentle sound floats down like wind chimes built from syllables. You walk slowly down a street called Rue de Presque, which translates loosely to almost street. Each building wears a sign. A shop for almost confessions. Museum of Unfinished Apologies. The Library of Misheard Goodbyes. Outside the bakery, a small blackboard lists today's specials. Warm regret buns, half-imagined croissants, and if I'd said it, scones. The doctor buys 2 scones and hands one to you. It tastes like cinnamon, nostalgia, and the first 2 lines of a sentence that still hasn't ended. You like it? He asks. You nod. It tastes like the conversation I never had with that friend who moved away. He grins, perfectly baked. Then, a bell rings as you step into the town square. But there's no visible source, only a widening hush. Like the moment before someone answers a question with something you weren't ready to hear well. Around you, people drift like ideas caught mid-thought. A girl walks past holding hands with someone invisible. A man wears a coat made of scribbled-out journal entries. 2 children toss a balloon that says, "Remember this." Above it all looms the town tower, its spire built from stacked declarations. I thought I'd have more time. Maybe I wasn't really listening. I should have asked her name. You whisper, "Why does it feel so sad here?" The doctor tilts his head. Not sadness, reverence. These are the thoughts that were never loud enough. So this place listens. You come to a fountain in the middle of the square. Instead of water, it flows with sentences. They bubble up, drift in the air, then dissolve before they land. You reach out to touch one. It lingers on your skin, then whispers, "It wasn't your fault." The doctor glances at you, eyes soft. They're meant for anyone who needs them. You sit beside the fountain. The bench adjusts its shape to match your posture perfectly. Across from you, a statue of a woman with her hand cupped to her ear listens forever. You lean back. The town breathes. A lamplighter walks by, except she doesn't carry a flame. She carries a net and gently gathers drifting ideas that haven't found form yet. One flutters past your face. What if trees dream of walking? Another lands in your lap like a cat. He was never really angry, just afraid. You look up. Will these ever leave? Only if someone speaks them aloud, says the lamplighter softly. Or if someone finally listens. She tips her net toward you in farewell and continues down the street. The doctor gestures to a narrow lane lined with blank signs. Care for a walk down Echo Alley. You nod. Echo Alley is quieter than the rest of the town. Here, the echoes aren't words, but feelings. You pass a closed doorway and feel a sudden burst of courage, sharp, bright, gone in an instant. Another corner holds a sadness too old to cry. It rests like dust in the corners. You turn to the doctor. Why does it all feel like mine? He gives you a slow, knowing look. Because every visitor only hears what belongs to them. You blink, then what do you hear? He smiles faintly, mostly silence, but occasionally, I forgot. You reach a wall where hundreds of little phrases have been pinned like paper butterflies. You run your fingers across a few. She meant to call back. He never opened the letter. It still matters. You take one. The paper dissolves into your palm. It doesn't hurt. Finally, the doctor leads you up a hill overlooking the town. Beneath you, it stretches like a woven tapestry of quiet voices, not loud enough to disturb, just present, always present. This place is a pause, he says, between what we say and what we mean. You look down at your hands, and we just leave it behind. He shrugs gently. Every echo waits. Some are answered, some are not. Either way, they stay soft. You sit in the grass. One of the sky clocks from Madame Palindrome's clearing floats overhead, ticking backward. You breathe in deeply. There's no rush. When you stand, there's a new path ahead, a soft lane leading out of town, marked only by a question. Are you ready to stop thinking for a while? You look at the doctor. He doesn't answer. He just starts walking, his coat rustling like half-remembered lyrics. You follow. Behind you, the town doesn't fade. It listens. And somewhere, deep within its walls, a thought you once forgot is just beginning to echo back. The path beyond the echoing town curls like a comma that forgot what it was pausing for. You follow the doctor over a gentle rise, through a thicket of uncertain hedges, until the landscape opens again, this time to music. Or rather, the memory of music, a rhythm you can feel in your knees, but can't quite place in your ears. Something between a polka and an apology. Up ahead stands the Museum of Mistakes. It's grand and peculiar, like a Victorian opera house, built from crumpled blueprints and second guesses. Parts of it lean a little too far, as if still embarrassed. One tower wears a bandage. The front steps correct themselves as you approach, shuffling slightly into a more symmetrical arrangement. Above the doorway, a brass sign reads, Museum of Mistakes. All errors, great and small, proudly misremembered. A smaller sign hangs below it. Tonight, only dance off in the exhibit of unnecessary risks at home. The doctor grins. Ah, perfect timing. You blink. Dance off. Oh yes, he says. They hold one every once in a while to celebrate the errors we actually enjoyed making. Inside, the museum is warm with dim golden light and the unmistakable scent of overcooked ideas. You pass through the lobby, where a receptionist made entirely of revision marks greets you with a nod and an eraser handshake. The first gallery is full of interactive displays. A glittering plaque says, Mistakes that turned out brilliantly by accident. Here, you see, the first pancake ever flipped into a chandelier. The poem that began with a typo and ended with a proposal. A door labeled Do Not Enter That, when entered, led to a better version of yourself. You lean closer to one exhibit and hear a recording whisper, You weren't supposed to say that, but I'm glad you did. The next hall holds Mistakes that taught you to be kinder. A cracked teacup, glued back together with golden glue, spins slowly in a glass case. A voice beside you says softly, That's the one you dropped when you first learned to say, I'm sorry, Sade. You stare. I dropped that cup when I was 7. The doctor nods. It remembered. You walk in silence for a while, past displays of friendships mismanaged, keys lost on rainy evenings, letters never sent. Every one of them glows softly with a kind of forgiveness. Then, a sudden swell of music echoes from a long corridor to your right. Laughter. Applause. The occasional thump of something being danced upon too enthusiastically. That's the dance-off, says the doctor, tugging your sleeve. Come on. You can't just visit a mistake museum. You have to participate. But I don't. He's already gone, striding toward the noise. You follow, hesitantly. The room is massive, like a ballroom drawn by someone who had only ever seen them in dreams. A floating disco ball emits memories instead of light. Dance partners whirl past. Some human, some not quite. One woman twirls a regret shaped like a jellyfish. A man in sequins is breakdancing with his shadow. A sign hangs overhead. Exhibit unnecessary risks. Mistakes you took just to see what would happen. School. A host in a glittery top hat announces. Next up, newcomer. One dream traveler and her peculiar time friend. You freeze. What me? The doctor grins and tosses his coat aside. We signed up 10 minutes ago. Come on. I've already picked your partner. From the crowd emerges your 12-year-old self, wearing socks and a Halloween cape. She beams at you. I thought you might need me. The music shifts. It starts slow, a waltz wrapped in jazz, then mutates into something unsure of its time signature. You take her hand. She knows the first step. Together, you move hesitant at first, then with growing ease. You remember how she danced when no one was watching. In kitchen tile patterns, in daydreams. Other dancers part respectfully, cheering softly. Your steps become bolder. You try something that doesn't work and laugh. She mimics your awkward twirl with a flourish that turns the stumble into art. The room applauds. You dip badly. She curtsies perfectly. The music ends in a final offbeat spin, and the crowd erupts cease. Above you, the disco ball flickers with an image, your very first attempt at something you loved, even though you were terrible at it. You watch that moment, awkward, sincere, full of courage. You whisper to your younger self, thanks for not being afraid to be weird. She grins. That was your job later. And then she vanishes. The doctor returns. holding 2 cups of fizzy lemonade labeled Oops Elixir. You sip. It tastes like staying up past bedtime and not regretting it. Hey, he raises his cup. 2 mistakes. You clink to the right kind. You leave the dance hall, shoes scuffed, heart lighter. In the gift shop, a mannequin wears a sign that reads, "No refunds, just stories." You pick up a small pin shaped like a rewind button. The label says, "Press only when you're ready to do it wrong again." You buy it. No questions asked. As you step back outside, the air is cool and full of applause that still hasn't settled. The path ahead is now clearer. A glowing sign rises from the grass. Next, the cafe of borrowed tomorrows. You glance at the doctor. He bows. "Shall we?" And you walk forward, not carefully, not perfectly, but with the knowledge that some missteps make the best stories. The trail between the Museum of Mistakes and your next destination begins like any ordinary path gravel. A hint of moss, the kind of road you might wander on a thoughtful afternoon. But then, the pebbles underfoot begin humming. Quiet at first, then in gentle rhythm. Step, sock, sock, sock. You glance at the doctor. He's already smiling. Ah, we've arrived. You turn a corner, and the landscape opens wide and woolly. Welcome to the land of sentient socks. Rolling hills are dotted with laundry lines that stretch from tree to sky. Giant baskets lie overturned like upturned homes, spilling gentle hills of mismatched cloth. Beneath a lemon-yellow sun, entire meadows flutter with fabric. Knee-high argyles sip tea from thimbles. Old hiking socks sunbathe on folded towels. A crowd of ankle socks hops by, chanting a protest about foot freedom. A wooden sign greets you at the border, written in tidy cross-stitch. Welcome, it's laundry day. Please sort your feelings accordingly. You step into the field and something wiggles against your ankle. A sock tugs at your pant leg. It's a faded blue tube sock, slightly frayed but bright-eyed. Hello, it squeaks. Do you have any laundry that needs listening to? I what? The doctor nods. They don't just wash clothes here. They wash what's been carried inside them. He kneels beside the sock. My companion's been on quite a journey. I think her right shoe has witnessed several emotional plot twists. You blink. Wait, do my shoes have stories? The sock puffs itself up proudly. Of course. Shoes collect destinations. But we collect intentions. Wishes whispered during walks. Doubts paced into carpets. Hopes you tried on quietly. You glance down at your socks. One of them blushes slightly. The doctor leans in. Go on. Give them to the sorting circle. You follow a row of socks, holding tiny clipboards to a wide clearing lined with laundry lines. In the center, several large baskets labeled regret, joy, unspoken feelings, and mild confusion spin slowly like lazy merry-go-rounds. You remove your socks. Immediately, they leap from your hands and begin narrating your week in exaggerated sock theater. Your left sock reenacts your Tuesday slump with interpretive flops. Your right sock mimes your awkward coffee order from 3 days ago, complete with sound effects and emotional jazz hands. The audience of nearby socks applauds politely. You laugh. The doctor, seated on a warm pile of towels, tips his hat. Laundry, he says, isn't just for sweat and mud. It's where little bits of life hide until they're wrung out. A chorus of knee socks begins to sing a sorting song. Highs go left, lows go right. Colors match and dreams take flight. Every thread tells what was felt, even those you tightly held. Your socks now sorted and self-reflective hop into a warm basin labeled things you meant to say. The water inside is faintly blue and smells like sunlit nostalgia. Nearby, a grizzled old woolen sock in a detective cap sits at a table, scribbling something into a tiny ledger. What's he doing, you ask? Ah, says a passing compression sock. He's the lost sock registrar. He catalogues all the ones who went missing in dryers. You glance around. All at once, you realize the place is full of them socks who never found their pair. Some look melancholy. Others seem content, sipping lemonade made from cloud lint. They're not sad, you whisper. Oh, not really, says the doctor. They didn't disappear. They just graduated into mystery. Later, a sock named Clancy offers you a guided tour of the memory dryer. It's a tall, humming tower made of bronze and thread. Inside, mismatched socks tumble in slow motion, each rotation echoing with faint laughter and quiet sighs. Every turn cycles through a story, Clancy explains, his stripes rippling. Some of us relive the time we were worn on first dates. Others spin through poetry slams and thunderstorms. It's very therapeutic. As he speaks, a pink slipper sock pops out of the top and lands in a basket labeled closure. She's ready, says Clancy. For what? For the next draw. Before you leave, a council of veteran hiking socks gathers to offer you a parting gift. They present you with a single sock, hand-stitched from many fabrics. There's a piece of birthday sock, a patch from a rainy day, a stripe from your favorite pair in middle school. The cuff is embroidered with looping silver thread that says, "For steps you haven't taken yet, You hold it close. It smells like blanket forts and resolved tension. Wear it when you need grounding, says one elderly sock. Left foot only. Right foot's for mischief. The doctor pockets a polka-dotted stocking with a wink. Souvenir. As you prepare to leave, the entire sock village gathers to wave you off, humming a gentle farewell tune. Pair or not, you're not alone. Every path is partly sown. You glance back once, just in time to see a group of mismatched toe socks start rehearsing an interpretive dance about hope. You smile. You're not sure what was cleaned here today, but you feel lighter. Beyond the fields, the path opens into a gentle hill. The sky above is beginning to shift colors again, lavender warming into gold, the way dreams stretch when they've nearly had their fill. A small signpost awaits at the fork. This way to the cafe of borrowed tomorrows. That way to where socks go to write poetry. You look at the doctor. He points forward. We've got reservations. Table for two. Tomorrow's menu. Today. You adjust the gifted sock in your coat pocket and take the next step. Somewhere behind you, a sock cheers. The path to the cafe of borrowed tomorrows doesn't end. It simply tilts. One moment, you're walking on soft grass beneath laundry-scented skies. The next, the world begins to lean gently, like a question mark drawn in light. You and the doctor are suddenly stepping sideways, then upward, then through a sensation best described as a very polite unzipping of reality. You emerge into a room filled with murmuring candlelight and warm jazz that sounds like it was recorded underwater by a nostalgic octopus. A host greets you with a wink. Welcome, welcome. The Cafe of Borrowed Tomorrows is closed today for a private event. But don't worry, you're on the list. He gestures dramatically toward a velvet curtain. Behind it, the room opens into an elegant lounge with mirrored ceilings and velvet booths. Floating name cards drift through the air like dandelion seeds, each labeled with variations of your own name. The doctor pats your shoulder. You've been invited to a very exclusive soiree, speed dating for multiverse versions of you. You freeze. Sorry, what? He grins. Every universe has a version of you. And once in a great while, you all get together to compare notes. You take a hesitant step into the room. And there, across candlelit tables and gently swirling fog, are you. You in a pilot's uniform, sipping a martini. You in a lab coat, absently writing equations in the condensation on a teacup. You in armor, helmet under one arm, smiling faintly. You in pajamas and a paper crown, holding a spoon like a scepter. A bell chimes. The host reappears with a clipboard. Everyone gets 7 minutes per version. Please be courteous. Vague about interdimensional paradoxes. And tip generously. You're gently guided to a small round table labeled U Prime Timeline. Dream authorized. You sit. Across from you sits you. Or rather, you as a pirate queen. Her boots are on the table. Her hair smells like sea salt and revolution. She grins. You look nervous. That's cute. You try to smile. So, what's your world like? She leans back. Stormy. Glorious. Dangerous. We eat eclairs during sword fights. You blink. That sounds impossible. She winks. Only until you do it once. The bell rings again. You're whisked to the next table. Here, you're wearing thick glasses and a constellation print blazer. This version of you smiles gently and says, I catalog stars by the songs they hum. You ask, and do they really? Hum. This you laughs. Of course not. But what else are we supposed to call what they do when they miss each other? You sip your tea. It tastes like longing and starlight. Next table. You're now face to face with Professor, you author of 15 books and infamous for starting debates in libraries. She eyes you curiously. Have you published yet? Or are you still tinkering? You admit the latter. She sighs. But it's not unkind. You don't need to wait until it's perfect. Just make it tender. Bell. Then it's you as a circus juggler who only juggles emotions. You as a bird watcher who married a cloud. You as a librarian on a planet where books read you. Each version of you carries something, a choice you didn't make, a risk you didn't take, a version of delight that arrived dressed as fear. And yet they all seem to like you. They all seem proud. Halfway through the evening, you're placed at a long booth labeled the Table of Almosts. Here sit the versions of you who nearly existed. One says, I was going to be a poet, but then we studied accounting. Another whispers, I almost moved to Iceland. I had the ticket. I didn't go. A third looks you in the eye. I was the version who said yes that night. You remember. You do. And yet, they hold no bitterness, only a quiet curiosity. I wonder what it felt like to be you. One says. You smile. Complicated. They nod in perfect unison. Ah, same. As the final round approaches, the lights dim. You're led to a booth with only one candle, one chair. The mirror across from you glimmers, and you understand. This time, it's not another version. It's you. Just you. As you are right now. The candle flickers. You don't speak. But you watch yourself. And in that silence, something kind happens. You begin to soften. Not with shame, not with critique, just with recognition that you've come far, that you're still becoming, that you're enough even without being pirate queens or celestial cartographers. You lean forward and whisper, I see you. The mirror exhales. So do you? Afterward, in the cloakroom, the doctor hands you your coat. So he asks, fall in love with yourself yet? You shrug, maybe a little. Good. Some people forget to even flirt. He hands you a key. What's this? The next door to the Bureau of Forgotten Celebrations. You glance back at the room one last time. 100 yous are laughing, sipping strange drinks, dancing with their own shadows. You smile and step into tomorrow. The door behind the Multiverse cafe closes with a sigh, and the hallway ahead grows strangely quiet. Gone are the flickering mirrors and laughter of selves. Gone are the mirrors, the dancing, the stardust cocktails. Now it's just the low hum of something enormous, trying very hard to be silent. At the end of the corridor is a turnstile. The doctor gestures to it. No tickets here. Just memories you're willing to let go. You hesitate. Is it safe? No, he says. But neither is staying the same. You step through. The world shifts like paper folding in on itself. And then you're standing at the edge of a vast, quiet station. Old iron and glass overhead. Time-stained tiles underfoot. A faded sign swings gently from a rusted arch. Terminal somnière, departures only. Welcome to the train station that forgets. It's not empty. Not exactly. There are people here sitting on suitcases, pacing slow circles, reading schedules that change even as they read them. But everyone moves like they're half dreaming or trying to remember a tune that's always just out of reach. Trains pull in and out without sound. Their names appear briefly on blinking boards. The 442 to places you meant to write down. The midnight line to once, long ago. The 7-Eleven to someone else's ending. Each train is beautiful in its own way. One is carved from pressed flowers. Another floats just above the rails, purring like a memory, trying to stay real. But they don't stop for long. And none seem to go anywhere you can return from. A clerk in a booth smiles at you with the kind of expression one might use when offering condolences and mints. First time he asks, you nod. He hands you a small paper slip. On it is a question. What memory are you ready to misplace? You hesitate. The doctor, beside you now, leans in. This place doesn't erase. It lets you release just one thing, one little burden you don't need to carry forward. You stare at the paper. You think of that time in school you never spoke up, that person you hurt, even if they forgave you, that worry you wear like a threadbare sweater. You write down a name, or maybe a feeling, or maybe just a sentence. Diha. You hand it over. The clerk nods. Gate 12. Track fog-bound. You and the doctor walk past tracks where suitcases whisper to each other in sleep language. A conductor made entirely of maps tips his hat. At gate 12, there's no train yet, just a wooden bench and a strange little vending machine labeled snacks for things you almost forgot. The options are odd. Butterscotch memory drops. Half-finished sentences on toast. Warm regret, pretzels lightly salted. You choose a memory drop. It melts slowly, like an answer you're not sure you wanted. While you wait, the doctor tells you this station didn't always forget. Once, he says, it was where people remembered too much. They'd board trains just to relive what they couldn't let go of. Whole carriages of what-ifs. Entire dining cars of I should have. He looks at you. But forgetting, when it's chosen, is different. It's not loss. It's space. It's a gift of emptiness. This. You nod. You don't entirely understand, but part of you does. The air shifts, and the train arrives. It's not grand, not this one. It's small, humble. The color of closing eyes. The door opens with a hiss, and a conductor part fog, part kindness, gestures silently. You turn to the doctor. Will you come with me? He shakes his head. This one's just for you. I'll be here when it loops back. You step aboard. The doors close. The ride is gentle. You sit alone in a compartment lit by a single lamp. Outside, nothing but soft grey swirls, clouds. time-stitched memories. Your paper slip rests in your lap. Slowly, the ink begins to fade. The feeling, once so sharp, begins to round out. The ache doesn't vanish, but it steps back, loosens its grip. You feel lighter, not healed, but healing. The train hums a lullaby with no words. You rest your head on the window. You forget just enough. When the train pulls back into the station, everything is the same and slightly different. The doctor is waiting with 2 cups of something warm. You sip. Peppermint and closure, he says. Rare blend. You smile. You think, was I sad when I boarded? The thought passes like a cloud that doesn't rain. Before you leave, you turn once more to the grand, rusted station. Now, in the amber light of your return, it looks not forgotten, but forgiving. You read a final sign above the exit. To remember is noble. To forget, sometimes necessary. You pass beneath it. The doctor slips a key into your hand. What's this for? He winks. Next door, a little celebration. You've earned one. You laugh after forgetting. We celebrate. He nods, especially then. And you step forward. The path beyond the train station begins as a forest trail, but one that seems to have read too many philosophy books and forgotten how to be normal. The air smells like damp curiosity. The moss whispers beneath your boots. Trees lean in conspiratorially, and the doctor tells you, in a mock-hushed tone, they're eavesdropping again. Don't give them anything too profound. They'll mock you for hours. You glance at the nearest trunk, a gnarled old thing with deep bark furrows and one carved eyebrow. It huffs. You're not the first to come through here thinking you're interesting. You blink. Did that tree just insult me? Oh yes, the doctor grins. You've entered the thicket of thoughtful insults and philosophical puddles. You pause. That can't be its real name. He points to a hanging wooden sign, nailed at a slouching angle. Welcome to the woods of unsolicited wisdom and damp epiphanies. Below that, in smaller letters, please tread carefully. The puddles are deeper than they look. Sure enough, the first puddle you step over doesn't just reflect your boots. It reflects your 3A thoughts, your misquoted favorite quotes. A moment you misunderstood in 2012 and still feel weird about. Pshi. You crouch beside it. The puddle, glistening like liquid déjà vu, ripples and mutters. What even is a mistake? If you learned from it and laughed about it later, you turn to the doctor. Did that puddle just philosophize at me? They all do, he says. Some puddles specialize in existential doubt, others in exasperated encouragement. He points to a wide, murky one under a weeping willow. That one, he says, is all about the futility of overthinking breakfast. You walk deeper in Nam. Every tree is its own personality. One wears a beret made of moss and insists that art should never rhyme. Another sighs audibly whenever you use the word journey. The birches offer polite observations. Your inner monologue could use better pacing. You're not wrong. You're just early. That apology you never gave still time. The doctor stops beside a large oak with bark shaped like parentheses. He knocks gently. The tree groans. Doctor, still dragging your visitors through the woods of what-ifs. Are you? She's earned it, he replies. She's already made peace with a dozen versions of herself, released a memory, and shared a dance with sentient socks, so the tree rolls its eyes with a creaking sound. Fine. But if she starts quoting Rumi, I'm closing my knots for the day. You wander along a path of leaf-littered quotes. Literally, leaves here are printed with unfinished thoughts. Maybe the fear was a kind of compass. I only ever wanted to be understood, and yet Why do we keep hoping, even after they crumble if you try to read too fast? One puddle tries to ambush you by whispering, "What if you've already done the bravest thing and just didn't notice?" You pause soon. You hadn't considered that. The doctor hands you a leaf with a grins. On it is scribbled in smudgy ink. Sometimes the most radical act is a nap. You tuck it in your coat. Eventually, you arrive at a clearing shaped like a question mark. There, the trees form a gentle amphitheater. In the center, a stump that seems to glow slightly. Go ahead, the doctor says, sitting cross-legged. It's your turn. For what? To ask the forest something. You approach the stump. You think. And then you say, quietly, "What am I supposed to do with everything I've learned?" There's a long silence. Then the forest replies not in words, but in wind. Leaves rustle. Branches bend. A single acorn drops at your feet. It bounces once, twice, then sprouts. Right there. Oh. Just a little green shoot, stretching toward the sun. The doctor claps. Perfect answer. On your way out of the forest, a particularly sarcastic elm waves a leafy limb. Don't forget, it calls. You're still just one opinion away from becoming insufferable. You grin, duly noted. Another puddle adds, "Just keep questioning, but don't forget to laugh when you're wrong." You nod. You feel damp and oddly uplifted. At the edge of the woods, the air shifts again. The doctor pulls back a curtain of hanging vines. Behind them, a warm golden light spills out. He gestures forward. Next stop, balloons, cake, and utterly pointless confetti. You raise an eyebrow. That sounds like a trap. Nope, he says. It's a celebration. For what? He raises both eyebrows. For you. You've walked through yourself. Now it's time for cake. You step forward, soggy shoes and all. And the forest behind you chuckles one last thought. Go easy on yourself. You're not done becoming. You follow the doctor through the vine-curtained exit of the forest, still damp with overthinking and soft revelation. But the moment you step through, the air changes, vibrating faintly with bass-heavy music and the unmistakable scent of cotton candy that's been slightly overcooked. Before you, a skyline made entirely of pastel shapes wobbles slightly in the heat. Domes, towers, and bridges, all sculpted from bubblegum in shades of strawberry rebellion and watermelon defiance, rise above the cracked pavement. A blinking neon sign stretches across the entrance to the district. Welcome to District 7.5, where the bubblegum uprising never ends and the snacks are free. You stare. What happened here? The doctor grins, eyes sparkling. Oh, this, just one of history's lesser-known revolts. Long ago, the citizens of this district realized they were tired of being so serious. They demanded color, silliness, maximum chewiness. The Great Uprising lasted precisely one afternoon, but the effects were eternal. As you step into the district, your shoes make the satisfying thwick-thwick sound of walking across old gum. The buildings lean at joyful angles. A fire hydrant has been turned into a confetti cannon. Streetlights blink in Morse code that appears to say, "You are still allowed to giggle." A monument in the town square depicts a heroic gummy bear saluting a rising balloon. Below it, a plaque reads, "To those who dared to take playtime seriously." You walk beside the doctor through streets full of strange energy. Kids chase clouds with butterfly nets. Grandmothers operate bubble-blowing bazookas. A teenager on a pogo stick offers you a flyer that reads, "Emergency dance party today at 4:00 p.m. attendance mandatory, emotional readiness optional. You smile before you realize you've already begun chewing gum pink, fizzy, and slightly philosophical. The doctor waves to someone. A general in a candy wrapper uniform salutes you from a lemonade fountain. She marches over and hands you a lollipop the size of your face. You're just in time for the strategy meeting. Strategy for what? For joy maintenance, she replies solemnly. We're running low on spontaneous chuckles and lightly absurd metaphors. You've been recruited. Before you can respond, she hands you a clipboard with 3 options. Host a silly hat parade. Debate a sentient piñata. Invent a new dance that describes regret and recovery in 12 steps or less. You stare at the doctor. He nods. I vote for option 3. Always leave room for improvisation. Soon, you're on a stage. Balloons hover gently around you like curious jellyfish. The crowd, an assembly of rebels in glittering capes and snack-themed armor, waits in cheerful anticipation. You close your eyes and begin to move. The first steps are awkward, of course, representing uncertainty, overthinking, fear of saying the wrong thing. Then a sudden spin for the moment you finally spoke. A backward slide for the doubt that followed. A ridiculous hop too high, too weird for the part where you tried again anyway. You end with a soft, sideways sway. The crowd erupts. Somewhere nearby, a piñata weeps with joy and offers you a small applause cactus. Later, the celebration ramps up. A confetti typhoon hits the Western Avenue. Someone launches a kite shaped like an existential crisis, and it gets tangled in the wires of a balloon delivery drone. Soda geysers erupt from the ground with perfect comedic timing. In the middle of it all, a choir of gummy worms sings the district anthem. Be loud with your joy. Be weird with your truth. Say yes to a game. Say no to a booth. Life is a mess, and sometimes unfair. So paint it in bubblegum. Leave glitter in the air. You laugh. You haven't laughed this freely in a long time. As the party winds down, you find yourself on a rooftop made of hard candy shingles, watching the sunset over the wobbling towers. The doctor joins you, sipping from a straw stuck into a juice box labeled Emergency Wonder. He offers you one. You drink. It tastes like childhood and second chances and something warm that once scared you but doesn't anymore. Oh. You know, he says, District 7.I only appears to people who've forgotten how fun it is to be a little foolish. You lean back. Oh, was I really that serious? He smirks. Only sometimes. But now you've danced with recovery, dueled with delight, and invented a dance named after a feeling. A pause. You glance at him. What's next? The confetti settles. A quiet falls. And then, from the center of the district, a bell chimes. A floating tram, powered by laughter and a small team of daydreaming ducks, arrives at the station marked Outbound to the Museum of Unsent Letters. The doctor points. Next stop. You rise. Your pockets are filled with glitter and your heart with helium. You take one last look at District 7.5. Someone waves a sparkler in your honor. Someone else fires a marshmallow into the sky like a flare. And somewhere behind you, a gum sculpture of yourself is being built. As you step onto the tram, your gum sighs in satisfaction and vanishes. The doctor leans close. Don't worry, he whispers. The joy stays. You sit. The tram lifts off, bubbles trailing behind it. And the district fades, not because it's gone, but because some places only exist when you remember how to laugh at the very idea of being completely figured out. The tram hums through a sky that looks like an old painting, slightly smudged by time. Clouds drift lazily, stitched together by golden thread. while birds write polite haikus in their flight paths. You pass above the laughter of District 7.5, now fading into soft memory, and head toward a hillside that seems to lean gently against the edge of everything. The tram slows. The doctor nudges you, smiling. Next stop, eternal sunshine, bottomless baskets, and a blanket that never wrinkles. You squint through the windows. Are we arriving at a picnic? He nods. Not just a picnic. The endless picnic loop, where time is a napkin, folded and unfolded forever. You step off the tram and into the scent of ripe strawberries, warm bread, and air that hums with possibility. Before you stretches a meadow, lush and green and suspiciously perfect. Flowers nod as you pass, and 100 picnic blankets, checkered, floral, patchwork, cosmic, dot the landscape like sleepy thoughts waiting to be unwrapped. At the center, a sign held by a marmalade-colored squirrel. Welcome, kindly unburden your urgency before sitting. You look around. There are no clocks, no phones, no loudspeakers, just the hush of perpetual comfort. Nearby, a family of philosophers debates whether watermelon is more emotion than fruit. A child gently interrogates a muffin about its purpose. A golden retriever naps beside a pile of sandwiches arranged like a constellations. The doctor picks a shady spot beneath a willow tree that seems to hum lullabies in lowercase. This, he says, sinking into a soft blanket, is a loop made from all the picnics that were almost had. You sit, almost had. All the ones postponed, rescheduled, forgotten, rained out. The spontaneous feasts that never happened. The lunches we swore we'd share someday. Someone caught them, and they built this place from them. A gentle clink draws your eye to a basket beside you. It opens itself whole. Inside your favorite picnic food, exactly how you remember it. No matter how obscure or embarrassingly specific, it's just there. You take a bite. It tastes like a Saturday afternoon that forgot to be busy. The doctor pours lemonade from a thermos shaped like a question mark. He hands you a glass. No rush. That's the only rule here. You sip. It's exactly the temperature of a childhood summer memory. Somewhere between golden hour and contentment. You stretch out on the blanket and let your gaze drift skyward. The clouds here don't just pass, they tell stories. One becomes a whale reading a newspaper. Another turns into a kite, tangled in a violin string. You point. Is that one arguing with itself? The doctor nods. Some clouds get philosophical after 2 or 3 laps around the meadow. Time has no traction here. Every now and then, a breeze resets the plates and refreshes the tea. You watch a butterfly land on a spoon, consider its life choices, then float away more confident. You notice something odd, though. Every now and then, someone leaves the picnic. They pack up their basket, smile at the sky, and walk toward a path on the far edge of the field. A path you hadn't seen before. Where are they going, you ask? The doctor wipes his mouth with a napkin embroidered with the word maybe. They've remembered something they forgot to forget, he says, or forgiven something they didn't know was stuck. You blink. So the picnic loop isn't about staying. No, he says. It's about resting. Enough to remember you deserve it. You look down at your plate. It refills itself, slowly, like a gentle offering. A squirrel in a bow tie approaches with a small envelope. It hands it to you, then bows and returns to its walnut-based filing system. The envelope is addressed to you in your own handwriting. You open it. Inside is a message you once meant to send to someone you loved, or someone you almost did, or maybe to a version of yourself that was still afraid. It says only, you were doing your best. That mattered. It still does. You exhale. The wind ruffles the blanket here. And something unknots deep in your chest. Later, you and the doctor share a slice of pie that tastes like the smell of books. A passing stranger waves. "Third time here," she says. "Tried to leave last time, but the sky asked me to stay a little longer." You nod politely. She adds, "The sky was right." As the light shifts, never quite fading, never quite setting you lie back once more. The willow tree above you murmurs something about softness and second chances. Tsees. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to sink. And in that moment, you realize something. All the rushing you've done, the self-corrections, the searching, maybe they brought you here. But they don't belong here. Here, you don't need to become anything. You just get to be. Eventually, the doctor checks his watch, which isn't ticking, because it's made of marshmallow and doesn't care for precision. He stands, ready. You glance at the endless feast, the perfectly fluffed clouds, the breeze that knows your name but doesn't need to use it. And you rise. "I am," you say. As you walk toward the edge of the meadow, you notice the others who left before you. They've left behind tiny tokens, napkin notes, empty teacups, a single cracker arranged like a smile. You leave your envelope gently placed beneath the tree. A thank you to rest, and a promise to return if needed. The path ahead curves into a gentle hill made of pale cobblestones and unanswered questions. A wooden sign greets you with a bow to the last door, the observatory of what might still be. The doctor offers his arm. You take it. The picnic behind you doesn't fade. It simply folds itself into memory. Crumb-free. Hope-scented. Ready to return someday, if needed. The final path rises slowly at first, a winding trail of pale cobblestones kissed with lichen and light. You and the doctor walk in easy silence, picnic warmth still clinging to your shoulders like the soft aftertaste of something simple and sweet. The air grows thinner, not colder, just quieter, as if sound itself has paused to exhale. At the top of the hill is a small gate, painted in silver leaf. Just above the latch are 4 words: "Only if you're ready." The doctor lets you open it. But beyond, a staircase carved into the hillside leads downward, spiraling like a seashell, like the curl of an ear leaning in to listen. "Where does it go?" you whisper. The doctor grins. The whisper tunnel. The only way out of this place. You raise an eyebrow. Escape by tunnel. After all this? He shrugs. Even dreams need exits. You step inside. The air shifts immediately cool, but not cold. Still, but never stale. The tunnel walls are smooth stone, glowing faintly with bioluminescent script that vanishes when you try to read it. The path beneath your feet is lined with moss and threads of silver, like someone stitched quiet directly into the ground. The moment you take your second step, the whispers begin. Not alarming, not eerie, just soft, like memories murmuring to themselves. At first, you think they're echoes, but then you realize they're your echoes. Remember when you almost left, but didn't? You were braver than you knew. That thing you said to yourself, was it kind? Each whisper drifts past you like a page torn from an invisible journal. You walk slowly, letting the tunnel speak, letting yourself listen. The doctor trails behind, giving you space, humming something gentle. Or maybe that's just the tunnel, singing along with your heartbeat. You pass a niche in the wall where tiny lights flicker like fireflies, caught in mid-thought. Each one whispers a moment you'd almost let go of. The smell of your grandmother's kitchen. The first time someone said, "You're safe here." A sentence you regret, and the silence that followed. They don't demand anything of you. They just exist. You pause. Place your hand on the wall. And one of the lights settles into your palm for a moment, warm as forgiveness. Further in, the tunnel narrows, then widens again. Here, the whispers aren't just yours. They belong to people you've never met. A child singing nonsense about soup and stars. A teenager whispering, "I think I might be enough." Someone older murmuring, "It wasn't wasted. Not all of it." The tunnel holds every voice with reverence, even the ones that cracked, even the ones that never spoke out loud. Eventually, you come to a doorway, an arch grown from tree roots and time. Above it is carved, "This way out." The doctor catches up, slightly out of breath. Not many make it this far without turning around for one last nap. Well done. You smile. Feels strange to leave. He nods. It always does. Endings are quieter than we expect. He steps forward and presses something into your hand. It's a key, shaped like a question mark. Warm and pulsing faintly. "What's it for you?" ask. Oh. He looks up at the arch. For whatever comes next. You step through the doorway and into a long, golden corridor that feels less like a place and more like a memory you haven't had yet. The walls here whisper differently. They don't remind. Huh. They suggest. You might be gentler with yourself now. Maybe you'll finally write that letter. There's a new kind of courage waiting just outside. You walk the length of the corridor with soft footsteps and an open heart. At the end, a ladder. Short, wooden, slightly absurd. It leads up to a trapdoor labeled "Reality. Please re-enter gently." You turn to the doctor. "Will I remember all this?" He shrugs. "Maybe. In bits." when you're brushing your teeth or folding laundry or staring at clouds that look like metaphors. And you, I'll be around, especially if there's tea. You smile. Place your hand on the trapdoor and push. You emerge into your room. Morning light, or bird song. The real world. Your world. A little duller than where you've been, but also suddenly just a touch softer, like someone edited it overnight for comfort. You stretch, breathe, sit up. On your nightstand is a single object, a small card, handwritten. You were here. You mattered. Come back anytime. D. You turn it over. On the back is a doodle of a sock, a sandwich, a dancing bee, and a key. You laugh and start your day. Not brand new, but slightly rearranged. Like a drawer you finally tidied, ditty. Like a memory you finally made room for.